What's up, you vanilla chinchillas? Do you know that when you die, sometimes they find mold behind your eyeballs? Oh, that's ice cold. We got sexual dioramas, hot tub neck attacks, and Canadian floor babies. Welcome to This Past Weekend. This past weekend. We get that starter, baby. Monday, July 31st, you friggin' pimpled yard animals, huh? Your owner giving you water? Or you having to suck off the hose, dude? Get thirsty, baby. It's Monday. You got to get this week, huh? What you going to do this week, huh? You going to hug your kids? You going to blow an Egyptian? What are you going to do? We all got to take steps. We got to get to that next level, baby. Have some fun while we all... Good to be here, man. Welcome to This Past Weekend. It is Monday, January 31st of 2017. And if you're on the YouTube now, some of you guys don't know, the audio you're listening to right now comes out on iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever, Stitcher, Cat Daddy, Airwave, something, where you can get a taste of this. You can get this dirt gristle in your ears. Now, if you want to see the video of this, it pops up on the YouTubes, and that's sometime late in the evening on Monday or sometime Tuesday morning. That has to be edited and kind of put together. It's the same show, but it's got visuality, you know? And visuality is just, you know what it is. It's whatever you're looking at right now, unless you're blind. And shout out to the blind, man. My buddy Maurice is blind, and he said it's not that bad in there. You know, and he said it's not that bad, and it's that music sounds better. He was always trying to tell me that he thinks music sounds better to him because he's blind. So he gets his airwaves, you know, they just hit deeper because you're not encumbered by vision, by colors, by different things going on. You know that all your senses are coming out of your ears. Your eyes aren't taking up a lot of your bandwidth. So when your ears are operating at full bandwidth, you're coming in hot. And so he gets that spice straight into his brain. He gets that air spice, that sound, straight into his brain when he hears music. And we don't get that. Those of us who have visuality, but God bless him, Maurice, and good to be with you guys today, man. And if you're on the YouTubes, you're seeing I'm recording in a different spot today. I am in at the comedy club at the Comedy Store because I have to perform in a little while. I just got back from Montreal, from Canada, so I don't know what the exchange rate is on being a straight mother-hugging pimp. But apparently it's 1-to-1 when it comes to this cat daddy, okay? You know what I'm saying? I'll hide some gunpowder in your granddaddy's asshole. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of fella I am when I have to get real, okay? When I got to get real with somebody. But welcome, man. I hope you guys had a good weekend. Some people had birthdays this weekend. Some people maybe had a baby. If you had a baby this weekend, God bless that beautiful little mud kitten, you know? Straight out of them dirty walls out into the world, you know, popping right out of mom's wallet, you know, filling its lungs with that frickin' that H2O, you know what I'm saying, that dry H2O air, you know what I'm talking about. I also want to thank, they had a young lady a few months ago. I was at the Calusa Casino. She gave me this card. It says Onward on it, and it's a beautiful card. Onward, it says, and I appreciate that. Made out of metal. Hear that? Metal card. So, but I just got back from Montreal from the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. And man, Canada's hard to get into. Let me say that. I don't know if you've been to Canada or you ever try to make love to a Canadian person. I don't know if it's the same at those gates, you know, as it is at the vagina and butt gates as it is at the continental walls there at the country walls, but it's hard to get into Canada. Dude, I've been to Kenya. Nairobi, Botswana, Lotswana, baby, Gitmo. You know, um, I've once broken into someone's house over there outside of Covington, Kentucky. You know, and there are places that are hard to get into. Canada, extremely hard to get into. They ask you trick questions right when you get there. Did you wash your clothes? They'll ask you stuff like that. You're like, and so you start to sweat. And you're sweating right there. It's a man or it's a lady, a strong lady, right there at the customs. And they'll put you on the hot spot, you know. What's your favorite cheese? They'll ask you. And you're like, bam, Havarti, you know. But if you don't have that in you, you sitting there trying to describe cheese. You know, the yellow, the melted, clack, they'll send you out. One time I got stuck at customs and I got locked into this thing for about 2 hours with a musician. His name, he sang that song, Let It Rock, Let It Rock. Just in the fire and the burn. And not let it rock, let it rock, let it rock. And I think he did a remix or something with Lil Wayne as well. I don't remember his name. If you know that song, you want to drop it in the YouTubes or hashtag it this past weekend, let me know what it is on Twitter. But he was a nice guy. I got stuck with him at Customs one time. But anyhow, you can see that I'm recording this week in the Comedy Store on the video. I'm here under the Comedy Store. People are performing upstairs right now. There's a podcast studio in the basement of the Comedy Store. Bobby Lee was just on stage. I was just talking with Mark Maron, who's in that new Glow television show on Netflix. And but I got to Canada, man. I went to the Just for Laughs Montreal Comedy Festival. Montreal is a sister city to New Orleans. So if you like the good food, you can go to Montreal. You can go to New Orleans. If you like the murder for dessert, you know what I'm saying? If you like a little bit of hacksaw Jim Duggan in the back of your skull, then you can mostly get that down in New Orleans. And Montreal is diverse, man. I mean, if you're racist, you can barely figure out who to hate. Very tricky. You know, it's a tough place, I think, if you're a racist to really get specific, to lock your targets, you know, to Top Gun on somebody. And I got up there, and I was a little bit, I guess I had some nerves at first. And the Just for Laughs festival has been going on, I think, for, I want to say 50 years, maybe 35, 45 years. And it's all the greatest comedians from America and some from around the world show up there. And all the agents, the best agents. I mean, you're talking Kevin Hart and his, you know, the best managers. They're all there. All of them. They're all staying in the same hotel even. So at night you can go downstairs and you got, you know, everybody's down there partying. You got Danny McBride. You got, you know, Cedric the Entertainer, Howie Mandel. You got Bobby, you know, Bobby Lee actually has never been there. He just told me. But you got, you know, Jen Kirkman. You got, you know, Ali Wong. You got Eric Griffin. You got Chris D'Elia. You got everybody. And it's unbelievable. It's like the Olympics sort of for comedians. And it's just, but you're not competing against each other. It's just more of a celebration. It's kind of like NBA All-Star Weekend for comedians. And that happens every year in Montreal. And anybody can go. Anyone can go and get tickets, and you can go and hang out at the bar in the evening where everyone is. And it's just a blast, man. All these networks throw different parties. And there's, on the street, there are these huge stages with outdoor performances, and so much is in French, and people's eating baguettes, and you got hookers, prostitutes. Prostitution big in Montreal. You know, so you got that leg candy walking around. You know, you got them girls with that sugar pouch out there shaking it. You know what I'm saying? Trying to give you that diabetes, if you will. You know. And I just got back from there, so I feeling some honor. You know, I'm feeling, I guess, some honor, you know, to be a part of that this weekend. And to get to see, I mean, I had lunch the other day with my buddy Steve Byrne and Dave Attell. You know, Dave Attell's considered the greatest joke writer of all time. And just to get to spend time around him, and, you know, and I look at him, of course, like, you know, I respect him and have, you know, have a lot of admiration, and, you know, I romanticize the idea of even just being able to have a few jokes that are as good as that man's, of his style. But it's great to just sit and kind of share experiences and just feel that some of your idols and some of the people you admire are just regular people. And Dave was telling me a story at lunch. He said, there's a show up here that's kind of off. It's off the beaten path. It's done every year where people show up and tell crazy stories about Andy Dick. And Andy Dick is not a sex toy. It's a man. Andy Dick is a man. He's an adult man. And he's a comedian. And Dave, and I actually got to open up for Dave Attell in Shreveport, Louisiana. And that's, I think, Louisiana's third biggest city. And this was probably 10 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago. 8, 9, or 10 years ago. I just said those again. And Dave, after the show, I walked over to a strip club. Because this is back when I didn't mind seeing some of that, that dancing puss. I'm saying that, seeing a little bit of the old, the titty globetrotters up there. And Dave, and so I walk over there, and Andy Dickolas, is outside of the strip club. Outside. He's drunk. He's hooked up on liquor. He got his brain filled with liquor. And I'm not talking out of shop here. I've told Andy this story, and he knows it. And I love Andy Dick, and I'm telling this story. And Andy Dick had this little kind of hench woman with him, this little love of his, little younger love, a little white girl, And anyhow, it turns out Andy Dick offered me a little blowjob, a little BGeezy. You know what I'm saying? That buh to the juh. You know what I'm saying? That juh. You think it's just two letters, but ta-dow, somebody's getting a dick sucked. You feel me? So Andy Dick offered me that, and I declined. And sometimes you always want, and I admire Andy Dick as a comedian and an entertainer to immense levels. And some of you guys are like, he's not that funny. Maybe he is. Maybe he's. Andy Dick, I think, is one of the most entertaining people I've ever seen. He had a show on MTV for a while called The Assistant, I think it was. And hold on, I'm going to drink for a second off of the microphone because I know it bugs some people. Andy had a show called The Assistant on MTV, and it's the greatest show ever. If you can go back and find that anywhere, Andy Dick's The Assistant that was on MTV, and the show Joe Schmo, the original season, two of the greatest unscripted or reality shows ever of all time. Anyhow, so Andy Dick offered me that BGeezy, you know what I'm saying? That double consonant, you know what I'm saying? That mouth cack activity, that meat chirp. He offered me that meat chirp. And I denied. I wasn't interested. Fast forward 3 years. I'm performing in Shreveport again. I go to the casino. I go to the strip club after, and that's just a sex casino. And Andy Dick is again in town shooting something else, different film, something, I don't know. Because he wasn't living in Shreveport. He was there shooting something, some piece of entertainment, some footage, usable footage. And he said, he offered me the same thing, that double consonant to the cop. And again, I denied, thankfully denied, though. I'm not rude about that. A lot of men out there, you see these things, a man offer to, touch their wiener or to be gentle with them or to be trying to be gentle with them in the pants, and men be mean to these people. Men be mean to these other men. That's ridiculous. Because no matter what, even whether you prefer that type of mouth joy to your body or not, you still shouldn't be mean to that person. They're still offering you a treat, I mean, they're offering to hide your penis inside of their head. I mean, that's David Copperfield of skin activities, really. So you don't have to be mean, even if it's not of your liking. And so I denied, thankfully, and honorably denied, because Andy Dick's extremely funny. And anyway, I got to share that story with Dave Attell whenever we had lunch, and it's kind of a silly story, but I just wanted to share it with you guys now. So what else happened? Yeah, it was Montreal. It's just crazy. I mean, there's tens of thousands of people show up, and they're out on the street, and beautiful women, okay? And I'm talking mixed colors you have not even seen of skin, I'm talking Chincanibras, you know? I'm talking you got African Aryans. You know, you got the Israel Mexicans. You got everybody out there. It is so mixed and beautiful palette that you really get an idea of what the world is going to look like one day. And I know if you're living in like a community where it's mostly white or black, like I grew up in was black and white. That's all we had. But I don't know if you can hear the music in the background right now. Somebody's just getting off stage upstairs at the world famous Comedy Store. Can you hear that crowd cheering? You might not be able to hear it, but it's happening. But that was that's how diverse it is, and you start to see that the world's going to be a beautiful color one day when it all works comfortably. You know, Montreal is a very progressive city, and it's a safe city. I mean, Canada's all about safety. You know, when I was young, I didn't even know Canada was a real place. You know, I thought that when I was growing up there and I was in junior high school, I remember they had a chart on the wall, a big drawing, you know, not a map, and it had America and all the cities and states in America. And then below America, it had Mexico. But they just had, instead of describing all the cities and everything in Mexico, they just had the outline of Mexico. And then they had a picture of a man and a cactus. And the man was drinking some liqueur and wearing a hat under the sunlight. But now if you go up there to Canada, for Canada, all they had a picture of a wolf chasing a boy. They didn't have any cities or anything like that. They had a picture of a wolf chasing a boy. And I was like, oh, so that's all I thought about Canada. You know, a place where, you know, it got very Swiss Family Jack Kerouac, if you will. You kind of had to fend for yourself. You know, got kind of like a bootleg Jumanji. You know, and cold too. And I've never been a huge fan of the cold either. But I thought that's what Canada was, you know. It was a place to practice safety, really. I thought Canada was a place where America just tried out safety equipment. Do these helmets work? Send them to Canada. Let's see. Are these floaties legit? Send them up to Canada. You know? Does this have enough air in it? Send it to Canada. Let's see if they like it. See if it works for them. Because Canada's like the safest place. You could just be in a conversation with somebody. If the conversation gets loud, they'll put on a safety helmet. They'll put on a bike helmet. Canada's about the safest place you can go. But Montreal, you have this French infection. So you got the attitude, you know. You know, everybody got nipples on their tits, you know. Everybody got nipples on their tits. Because that's attitude buttons. That's what they got flying out of their chest and breast areas, milk pouches, you know, rib milk pouches. And so we're out there in Montreal, and it's beautiful. I mean, you walk down the street, dude, you're in that boner zone. You're in that boner zone. And you just see beautiful women. I mean, every woman just seemed like a damn caramel. They made out of caramel. You could eat their face, boy. Beautiful, chewy, sweet, salty caramel cheeks. Like you could just grab a piece of a woman's cheek and just chew it up and blow bubbles. I mean, everyone have a beautiful tint of skin. You know, that French, that Cajun a little bit if you're down in the bayou, that Cajun. So anyway, it's nice to see all the beautiful people. And then you have all this art going on, you know. There's people on stilts. And I mean like a lot of people. You'll see 30 people on stilts wandering around. You'll see all these art displays, just like a man watching television, but just out in the middle of the street. Like he's just sitting there on a sofa. He's like a stepdad or something. He's got his belly out. He's chilling. And there's a TV on just watching, you know, something. Safety. Well, probably watching people be safe in the background. I bet they have a channel for that. But I always thought that that's what Canada was, just a place where America practiced safety and where avalanches could happen because it's snow country, cold water country. And that's where avalanches could happen. And I used to have dreams where I was in avalanches. You know, I had these avalanche dreams, and a lot of people would drink. I was the one person who showed up to the avalanche with urine in their body, with a full thing of urine. And I don't know if we'd been in a plane crash or train crash, but everybody else had just urinated before whatever the vehicle was crashed. And so I'm the one who got the urine. And it's funny, you say, everybody says, urine, it's wee-wee. But once you get in an avalanche, that's wine, brother. That's wine. That's warm wine you're serving. It's only piss until you stuck an avalanche. Then that's wiener wine, Who wants a couple warm sips of Cabernet off daddy, And I'm good for that unless Andy Dick is serving them then. No, thank you, Andy Dick. Not interested. But I had a great time, man. I was just honored to be part of this festival. And then I'm doing my television taping. So you do 4 or 5 sets. I got to open up for Chris D'Elia, Eric Griffin, 2 buddies of mine, having good careers. And then you do a couple of other sets around town. And you're just popping in these different clubs and studios that are all across their city. So it's pretty remarkable, really. It's pretty remarkable. You're busting around everywhere. And then the next thing you know, I'm on stage doing my television taping, which is like the place is packed. There's 2 levels of it. It's beautiful. It's TV. There's cameras everywhere. I'm on stage. I'm in the middle of my set, and I am crushing. I'm crushing. And this man comes up out of the blue and taps me on the shoulder. It's like a lit up set and everything, like you see on TV. And he's like, the generator outside just blew out. We're not picking up the audio into the sound truck or production truck. So I had to stop, bro. Right in the middle of my set, I had to stop. And man, that was heartbreaking because I was doing well. But so that was surprising. I mean, first of all, it's surprising when you're on stage and you're in that zone to have somebody even touch you because you're on stage by yourself. It's like rolling over in bed and they got somebody right there. Or they got a new animal you never even owned. Surprise, what's that? Lizard, ferret. Active animal, cabaret animal. And that's, it's something scary. And that's how it was for me a little bit, to have that experience and be a little bit scared. So, but I just felt honored to be in Montreal. And I also feel honored right now to tell you guys that Dollar Shave Club is the smarter choice. And you can support the podcast. You can support This Past Weekend and the smarter choice. You can get a great shave at a great price. Okay, go to dollarshaveclub.com/weekend. And it's only $5. They send you the razor. They send you the nice razor. It's weighty. It feels, it's not plastic. It's a metal, mercury or something. I don't know, yard metal, something. And they send you that Dr. Carver's shave butter. And that's for you. It's for a limited time. New members get their first month of the executive razor with a tube of Dr. Carver's shave butter for only $5 with free shipping. After that, razors are just a few bucks a month. That's a $15 value for only $5. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/weekend. It's a no-brainer choice. You can buy these cheap razors that cut you up, make you feel like like you're a unloved stepfather when you're done shaving. Make you feel like you're living in like you're living in gold country, mining gold after you shave. Don't live like that. Use my Dollar Shave Club executive razor with the Dr. Carver's shave butter. You like butter on your hotcakes? Put it on your face. Put it on your cheeks. That's dollarshaveclub.com/weekend. And I'm going to tell you about some dates, man. I am in Dallas, and that is next weekend, man. And I need to hit. Guys, I can't tell you enough that tell your friends, if you have them in the Dallas area, that I'm at the Addison Improv. It's my favorite club to perform at, next to this club in La Jolla and next to the Comedy Store. That's number 3. Addison Improv. It's in Dallas, Texas. You're going to love it. I'm there August 10th through the 13th. Then I'm in Austin. I'm back in Texas. And that is September 6th through the 9th. September 21st through 24th, I'm at Hilarities in Cleveland. And I got a new date to offer you. November 16th through the 19th, I'm in Huntsville, Alabama at Stand Up Live Huntsville. That is November 16th through 19th. And I'm still trying to lock down a date a month from now in Vancouver. So if I do, I will let you know. I'm going to do a follow-up this week. So if I do, I'll let you know on there, and I'll let you know on Twitter, on Instagram. But I appreciate you guys tuning in to this past week, and I appreciate the support. Thank you guys for everything. Let's hit the hotline now. Also, I hit a couple of guys up. We're going to do a follow-up this week. A lot of people call in, and they don't really have questions, but they'll also have comments as to, something that was discussed on an episode. So we're going to try to do a follow-up where I can, apply those into the follow-up on a Thursday or Friday release. But thank you guys for the love and support, and you can also always support the album, both albums, Musket Fire and 30-Pound Bag of Hamster Bones. Those are both available on iTunes. All right, let's get to the first call right here.
Hey, Theo. I don't know. I just had a little question about how would you deal with, say, stress? Maybe a little down in the dumps. I've hit the best point anyone would say in my life that I've ever been, but yet I feel worse than I ever have in the parts of my life that weren't so good. Just maybe if you had any insight.
Okay, I'm a little confused by that part, the parts of my life that weren't so good. Because you feel the best, but the worst in the parts of your life that weren't so good. Okay, maybe now it's a little clearer for me that I've repeated it. Onward.
Right on, what it is to be happy when you're not, and how to get past that. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate the call, 100%. Yeah, I've spent a lot of my time depressed, man. I spent, a lot of time, I think probably 8 or 10 years trying to sleep away feeling bad. Just trying to sleep it away. I was working and doing stuff as well, but when I wasn't, I was finding ways to check out. Sleep, looking at pornographics, even sexual dioramas. I knew a dude in India who was making sexual artworks and mailing them over to me. And if you're not familiar with dioramas, just basically just a shoebox with an activity inside of it. And for me, those were sexual ones that somebody was making, and actually kind of nice now looking back. But so I'm familiar with some of that, brother. Things are going well, but you still don't feel good. You still feel empty. You still feel less than. And for me, what I try to do each day that makes me feel good is to get out of myself. Stop thinking, because if everything in your life is about you, I feel like you get sick. So what I try to do is when I wake up, I make a gratitude list. I find 10 things that I'm grateful for. And then I'll try to reach out to 3 other people, whether it be a text, it can be a family member, it can be an old friend. Just say hello. How are you? It could be a call. Calls are always nice because it's more real. And then after that, I'll try to do a 5-minute meditation. And that kind of it kind of lifts me up a little bit. It takes me out of myself. After that, sometimes I'll go for a walk. I'll go for a walk outside. I'll walk to get a coffee. But the gratitude list is a thing that I find over time that helps me the most, because I think about things that I'm grateful for. And I'm not going to sit there and be like, I'm grateful for myself. I'll sit there and say I'm grateful for, my brother, because I know that he loves me, and I know when I need a voice or an ear to understand me, and then a voice to care for me, that he can supply that. And I'll write out all that. I don't just write, I'm grateful for my brother. I'll write out, I'm grateful for my brother and why. Or I'll write, I'm grateful for my lungs. They give me the air that I need so that I can walk, or so that I can run, go to the gym. I know things like that sound simple, might sound stupid, but after 10 of those things, I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about gratitude. I'm infected by a little bit of gratitude, and I find it really hard to be unhappy when you're infected with gratitude, man. And if there are still other more specific reasons in your life that you're feeling unhappy, I think you'd probably have to share what those are. And look, I'm not a counselor, but so I'd recommend maybe just hitting up a counselor. If you really cannot shake that unhappiness, you could need medication. Maybe you need to get an animal. Different things like that. Get you. I don't like lizards really that much. Some people like them that listen to heavy metal. but a beautiful animal can help. One of my friends has 2 cats that sleep by her head at night. And even though she doesn't like it when they do that because she doesn't have an air conditioner, she still loves those cats. So an animal sometimes can really help. But I appreciate the call, man, and good luck getting happy. And if you find yourself that you're trying to sleep it off, then that for me was a sign that something was wrong. I would be like, oh, if I'll go to sleep and I'll feel better when I wake up. And it would work a lot, but it's not an effective. There's more effective ways to get to the root of whatever your problem are, so that you can just be awake and live life and feel pleasant. But good luck, man, and I hope you feel better, brother. Let's get to another hotline call. It's about Canadian checks. Let's go.
Hey, Theo, this is Greg from Gainesville.
Ooh, Greg from Gainesville, and that's Florida Gator country. A lot of gators down there. A lot of missing people who are missing long enough, presumed dead. You got to wonder sometimes when you see a gator if they've met each other. Gators, dark artists. Onward.
I got a story about a friend of mine, a Chinese-Canadian guy that I knew.
Chinese-Canadian, boom. Tapping right back into that Montreal, that mix, boy, that Montreal mix. I mean, it is just a... You ever have paint class when you were young and you just lost your mind and mixed every paint together and it was kind of this purple color? Man, that's how beautiful it is, man, when you mix it all together up in Montreal. But this guy's talking about Chinese-Canadian. Did you think that could even happen? It's happening, bro. Truly beautiful. Onwards.
In college, and he told me this story about when he was 9 years old.
So he said he had a friend, a Chinese-Canadian guy that he knew in college, who told him a story from when that boy was 9 years old. Let's hear it.
And I don't know if this is like some Canadian ritual or whatnot, but he, when he was 9 years old, he was invited to this party by the most popular kid in his class, and he was really excited to go. So he gets there, and it's all these other boys, like 13 boys or something like that. And they have this basement area of their house. They put on a movie. I guess there's some dirty scene in the movie. And the kid whose party it was, he says, hey, look, my brother told me that that's where babies come from.
Ooh. Man, this is getting... creepy and risky and interesting at the same time. We can all remember times when we were young, infected with novice brains and novice hormones. Onward.
And one of the other kids, he says, well, you guys want to make some babies? So the next morning, the parents come down into the basement, and they just see all these kids lying around there and just this massive pile of jizz on the floor. And so I guess he said what had happened was,
my God,
they all jerked off together and, created a baby, and then they just passed out because they were so sleepy. Anyhow, that's my Canadian story. Love the podcast. Keep listening,
Wow. Most people's Canadian stories is snowboarding, or getting chased by wolves, dude, or finding escorts. Finding women of the night or entertaining those women. Thanks for sharing, dude. I mean, honestly, they made a baby, dude. They made one of those Canadian floor babies. And that's a new ritual. I mean, if that's not a new birthday party ritual, to make a Canadian floor baby, then I don't know what is. I would love to know what the movie is. Not in a perverse way. I'm not sitting here thinking about young boys ejaculating, But I am sitting here reflecting into my own life of what it was like at that time. To be young, to be infected with your own erection, to be around other boys and everybody's curious and scared and desperate and naive, just to be a whirlpool of all those emotions at one time. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to have all those feelings really so prevalent and new inside of your body. So that's fascinating, man. I remember that Sharon Stone scene in which she would part her legs, and there was just a rumor in the universe that you could see that beeve, that you could be peeping beeve. And that just, I remember just watching that and trying to pause it. And I remember trying to pause that movie 70 times to get it at the exact spot. And even then, you still had 95% of seeing anything had to be your imagination. It was so pixelated. It was so, it's just what we had then. So that's just unbelievable, man. That's unbelievable that they were making Canadian floor babies, man. Wow. And that takes a lot of teamwork. That's really, it almost sounds like an Olympic sport. Those Canadian floor babies. And I remember getting invited over into a whirlpool tub. Now, a child, and I might have told this story before, but you can hear it now if you haven't. When I was a youngster, when I was a young man, there was a boy in our town who had a whirlpool, a new yard hot tub. And he invited a bunch of us over as his birthday. And one boy came who was older than the rest of us, and this boy's name was Larry Wilkerams. And Larry Wilkerams was probably, he could have been 24 years old in the 6th or 7th grade. And that's back when they let you keep going, until you hit about 30. They just made you a janitor at the school, and that was that. But Larry Wilkerams, we're all sitting in this hot tub because this boy got a hot tub. And first of all, you didn't usually get a hot tub in Louisiana because it's already hot. So at that point, you're just making soup out of your friends and family, in the yard. But we got 5 or 6 or 7 boys sitting in this hot tub. Larry Wilkerams is pleasuring himself under the water. And we don't know about pleasuring ourselves because we had never seen this activity. And right before he's about to experience, superstardom fireworks, semen time with his wiener, he pulls it up out of the water and starts ejaculating into the water. Now, half of us are scared, jumping out of there. We've never seen this. And then one boy, whose party it was, latched on to Larry Wilkerams' wiener with both hands because he thought that Larry Wilkerams was dying, that his everything inside of him was slowly going to shoot out his wiener until he was empty, just a pile of skin floating around in that hot tub, just like an empty pool toy. Well, Larry Wilkerams felt this boy latch onto his wiener with both hands, So Larry got scared, I guess, and some type of, aggressive heterosexual male reaction, punched this boy right in the neck. And man, I've never seen a man holding on to some other man's penis tightly and get punched in the neck at the same time. And that boy was never the same. God bless him. He was never the same. So I appreciate your call from Gainesville, Florida. This type of stuff happens, and we live and learn. But that's them Canadian floor babies. Wow. That is very interesting. All right, let's take this last call right here. And thank you for everybody that hit the hotline. If you hit the hotline and your call doesn't make it on, look, just try again. Try again another time, I'm trying to get every call in that I can, and I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful for you guys' calls. Again, that number is 985-664-9503. All right, let's take this last call right here. Here we go.
Theo, what's up, you fluctuating firework? How you doing, bro? Hey, buddy, I'm calling in relation to the Lord. I know you affectionately mention Christ and the Lord, and that you are actually a spiritual individual. And I was just curious, to what degree do you practice any of that in your life?
Okay, young fella calling about the Lord. And some people say the Lord these days, the L-O-R-T, and that's kind of slang for the Lord. Onward. Let's hear more.
I myself would say that I love to have Christ consciousness as part of my life, but don't necessarily go to church every Sunday. And so you seem to have a similar understanding that, Jesus was the man. He laid out this path that we should follow because he was kind and loving to other people, and I kind of see the same way. But just curious, what is your spiritual practice? Do you meditate? Do you pray? Do you read things? Or are you just a good person? Love you, brother. Peace.
Well, I appreciate the call. The Lord with me, I have faith. And my faith is predominantly a Christian faith, I find, because that's what I was raised around. My father and I used to walk to church when I was young. My brother's life was lifted up and really resurrected at a time when he was at some of his low points. There were some churches and people of the church and people that had very strong faith that really stood by him and helped him and took care of him. So God is, when I look back on the history of my life, has taken care of people that I love. I used to pray a lot when I was young, and a lot of it was out of fear. And some people have faith, because maybe there's fear. I don't know. Everybody might have a different reason with it or a different walk with it, But for me, I like to have faith. I'd rather have it than not. I get away from it at times, I get caught up in myself. I get caught up thinking that I am my own God. I am running the show. And when I get too far into that space, I find that for me, it's not healthy. It's nice if you have somebody that, even if it's just an invisible power out in the world, that makes you feel not alone. And that's what I find is the most beautiful thing about faith, is that you have to have it. You have to make the effort. You have to be willing to let go of control. And I think that that's a brave thing to do. So to have faith, for me, it feels really brave, and it feels really hard. Like, to not, to say, instead of worrying and overwhelming myself, to say that I'm going to turn this over to a higher power and ask them for help, ask them to let me out of these little cages that I put myself in where I'm stressed or worried or fearful. It's nice to have somebody, and especially, growing up without a father, growing up absent of a lot of male figures that were strong or solid for me. When I look back, faith was always there for me whenever I needed it, really. And it's kind of one of those things where you can use it as you want. But I like to have it. I think it's brave to have some faith. It's brave to not be alone in a time where it's such a me world. So it feels good to me, and it feels like a brave thing to me. I'm not a devout Bible beater. I couldn't tell you a great deal of stories from the Bible. That's not my place. But I can tell you that, I ask God for help sometimes, and I thank God for helping me at the end of the day, for just allowing me to be a part of this amazing thing that's life, whether those things are good or bad. And I like going to church sometimes because what I see at church is people getting together, people just being people. I like to see the children at church enjoying each other's company and playing games and running around and going to Sunday school, and it's just it's a social place for them where they can, where we're trying to keep some of the dark arts out of our veins and just trying to inspire them to not feel alone. And I wish that, I kind of covet those few memories I do have from growing up where my father and I would walk to church. I think I covet some of those. And so for me, I have a higher power, and I want to be able to, to access that higher power better. And it's all up to me being willing to let go of control And so it's a constant battle because I want to be in control, That's my ego. I want to run the show, but it feels nice to let it go, man. It's like having one of those, those electric things that clean your pool or clean your floor. You can leave. You can leave and go do whatever. You can be gone, and that thing's still working. And that's something that I think is pretty powerful. Just to know that there can be something out there that has your back, and that's brave. It's brave to not. It's brave to not get stuck in your own loneliness. For me, so I try to have some faith, and I hope that my faith grows over time. It's a constant effort from me, and it's one where I fall short a lot, but it's one that I hope to fall less short. And I'm really kind of caught up in that sometimes now, just turning my life over to something other than me. Because when I try to run the show too much, it's not good. It just feels to me like it's just too much ego. And it's nice to let some of the weight off, man. It's just like that massage for your soul when you can let it go. So that's where I'm at. I want to thank you guys for joining me for this past weekend today, and I hope you have a great week. And I hope that you turn up, and that you let your heart out. And if there's a space out there where you see somebody needing help, you extend your hand. You extend a smile, or you extend just a bit of affection if you don't need to. That's what I'm going to try to do this week, man. I'm going to try to stay in the solution, and I'm going to try to be of service. And when I walk into any room or any situation or just open my eyes each day this week, I'm going to try to just say, what can I do for somebody else outside of myself? 'Cause, man, when I get outside of myself and I start to just be there for other people, man, there's just something magical where I feel like that the world has my back because I'm a contributing member of the good that's going on. So I appreciate you guys being with me, man. Y'all take care. Brush your hair. Be good to yourself. And I'll see you guys next time on This Past Weekend. Thank you.